Our next speaker is Javier Castillo, and I'll read his little bio and then pass it on. So staying ahead of the curve, what does that mean? In this presentation, we'll look at some tips and techniques that interpreters and translators can do to make sure that they maintain their high-level skills, streamline some processes, and find ways to stay ahead of the curve and be ready to adapt to changing markets. Javier has offered training workshops for court, medical, conference, and community interpreters across the U.S. Javier is a frequent speaker and trained at national and international conferences, a trainer. He is the president of Carolina Association of Translators and Interpreters, CCHI, the chair of the National Association of Judiciary Interpreters and Translators, the head of the U.S. chapter of the International Association of Professional Interpreters and Translators, and an active member of the American Translators Association. Ola was not kidding that every speaker is a keynote speaker. Javier is the president of Castillo Language Services, Inc. in Greenville, NC. I think that's North Carolina. He's an interpreter, translator, consultant, and internationally recognized speaker. Federally certified court interpreter, NC AOC certified court interpreter, a certified medical interpreter, and contract interpreter for the U.S. Department of State. All right, Javier, you can share your screen. I'll ask to unmute you again. Once you unmute, you can take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. First, thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Lola, for inviting me to be here. It's a pleasure to be among such fantastic colleagues and other presenters. It really is an honor for me to take this moment to be here with you, to have been invited and to share with you guys. My presentation is called Staying Ahead of the Curve, and unlike a few of the other presentations, I'm not going to be giving you a lot of information. I'm going to be I'm going to be giving you a lot of questions. This is, we're coming to the end of yet another year that has been full of challenges and opportunities for everybody. And so my goal at the end of this presentation is that you'll leave with just maybe a different view, a different way of looking at something, well, at least one particular aspect in your professional careers that can help you stay ahead of the curve. So what lies around this next curve, right? Don't know. This past couple of years, we've seen global shutdowns, remote interpreting being thrust upon us. Your client may find a new favorite translator or interpreter. And guess what? It's not you, right? There's new terminology that we're faced with. There's all sorts of technological advantage. There's improved AI and machine translation that promises that it's going to be so much better than what you can do and a lot cheaper. There's all these great tech advances, and then you get on to do your presentation and there's massive tech failures. How do you deal with that? There could be cheaper competition that comes in next door. There are new laws that could be inked in that restrict your ability to work, as we saw happen in some states in the United States. So are we prepared for this next curve? Or are we going to crash and burn? Is that video not showing very well? I see it flashing on my screen. It's very weird. Well, as you can maybe make out, I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. That's somebody who was not prepared for that next curve. All right, so here we go. Let's watch that again, just because that's so much fun to watch. There we go. That driver was not prepared for that next curve. Thinking of yourselves, my friends. I love this quote from Beyonce's husband, also known as the rapper and artist Jay-Z. I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man, right? Each of you are interpreters and translators and consultants, and you're not just business people, but you are the business. And so you have to ask yourself, to stay ahead, you have to know where you are to begin with, right? So how is the business of you doing, you as a provider of interpreting services, of translation services, of forensic transcription translation, whatever it is, services that you are providing, that is your business. How is your business doing? And so I don't know if many of you have, I'm sure you've heard of, businesses do analysis all the time. There's one called the SWOT analysis, where they look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so now that we've got this break coming up, hopefully some of us will be winding down. While you think about how you're going to start off the next year, you can think about your strengths, your weaknesses. These are the internal things, right? The things that affect you, things that you have control over. What are your strengths as an interpreter, as a translator, as a marketer of your services, as a financial manager of the money that's coming in and out? What are your weaknesses? What processes do you have that you think you could improve on? Is it your language skills? Is it your marketing skills? Is it your networking skills? I'm sure you have at least one weakness somewhere in there. So thinking about your internal strengths and your internal weaknesses, things you can need to highlight and maintain, your strengths, and things that you need to work on, your personal weaknesses. But you also need to look around globally, and what are the opportunities? What opportunities are around that next curve for you? What other opportunity, what other services can you provide? What other markets can you enter into? And then what are the threats? What are the threats? What could happen tomorrow that could completely shut down your work, could shut down your ability to provide your services? Maybe the government's going to say, hey, nobody can leave the house anymore. And guess what? No more internet, right? That could be a major threat to your business. Do you have a way around that? Are there things that you can look at, things that you can find that can help mitigate these threats, or things that you can find new opportunities in? So thinking outside of yourself as just this person who receives an assignment, but rather thinking of yourself as a multifaceted business, right? This is how we need to approach our work and our work life. Speaking of curves, we're going to be looking at curves in a lot of different ways during this presentation, at least three. So this is obviously the bell curve, right? Thinking of staying ahead of the curve, where do you want to be on the bell curve of interpreters, translators, providers, consultants, et cetera, right? Do you want to be right there in the middle, the average performers? Do you want to be in that top 20%, the top performers? Or are you going to be in that 5%, maybe that 1% of truly exceptional performers that your clients cannot live without? That you can demand, as somebody mentioned earlier, right? Work less and make more. Truly exceptional performers can do that. And it's not necessarily just providing the best service, so to speak, or the best quality, because I've had better hamburgers than I've had at McDonald's, right? But McDonald's provides a different type of performance, right? Consistency across billions and billions served. And so maybe that's the aspect of improving the performance for McDonald's, not perfecting the burger, right? But perfecting the distribution model of getting those so-so burgers to people who want them when they need them. Or are you going to be the Kobe beef provider, right? Are you the one that provides that $3,000 burger? Fantastic. Whatever it is, what does it mean for you to be the truly exceptional performer in whatever service you're providing? What does it mean to be that? And then what will it take to get you there, right? Thinking about that SWOT analysis. Where are your weaknesses? Where are your strengths? Where are the opportunities that are going to give you that spot ahead of the top performers, way ahead of the average? And those poor performers, those AI, the machine translations can't even touch the kind of quality that you produce. So think about this. What is it going to take for you to get to that next level, right? And then beyond that, right? It's not just enough to be there once. What's going to keep you there? It's not about providing that great service that one time. I can't tell you how many interpreters I know that I've helped train and I've worked with over the years to pass the court certification exams in the United States. For example, the federal court exam has a 4% pass rate, 4%. Right? And these are people who've signed up, paid money to take the exam, and they pass, and they're in that top 4% of people. And guess what? Some of those interpreters I would never work with because they were good that one day. They studied, they prepared, and they were good. That one day they took the test, and then they didn't maintain. So wherever you are now, know this: your skills are perishable. Your interpreting skills, your translating skills, your networking skills, that they're perishable. It doesn't matter that you made this great connection today with this person at this conference. If you don't reach out to them in the next 6 months, next year, they're going to forget about you, right? You've got to constantly maintain all of your different types of skills. If you're not getting better, you are getting worse. If you're not doing something every single day just to maintain, you are getting worse. Know that. And then figure out what you can do to avoid that, to mitigate that. I love this adage, right? You don't practice until you get it right. You practice until you can never get it wrong. Those who, I'm going to use the core interpreting exam, right? The ones who did great on that test, they practiced so they got it right, and that was it. And then they fail time after time after that. But the ones who are consistently excellent, I can wake them up at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, we need you to interpret right now. And it's there. It's on like a doctor who's gone through the years of medical school and residency and training of 100-hour weeks, right? It's on demand and it's high level because they can never get it wrong because it is so ingrained. So whatever that is for you, whether it's that translation, whether it's that marketing, whether it's that interpreting, practice it until you can never get it wrong. Don't have time to really get into all of the processes, systems, and habits that can help you, and only you can define that for yourself. But there are some things that you can do to help minimize the effort that it takes. And I'm going to talk about just 2 this morning. The first is reducing decision fatigue. Now, they say that every normal person makes about 35,000 decisions a day. That doesn't count interpreters and translators, right? We're probably talking in the several 100,000 of decisions a day. We hear this, we got to figure out what that meant to find the best solution. We're just talking about every single person, about 35,000 decision a day. From, are you going to hit the snooze? If so, how many times? Are you going to brush your teeth first? Take a shower first? Are you going to have eggs? How are you going to have your eggs? Are you going to use butter? Right? Are you going to say hello to that person or say hi or just give them a nod? Right? All these little micro decisions causes what causes decision fatigue, or it's also known as ego depletion. And so by the end of the day, right, you've had a long day, you've gone to work, you've done your 100,000 different decisions, trying to find that perfect solution. You've dealt with traffic, you've dealt with people. You get home and you want to make dinner and you look at the fridge and it's like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to grab some carrots. Wait, these carrots, these are on the dirty dozen, right? Are these organic or non-organic? And then you open the potatoes and like, oh, do I want to fry these and bake these? And then, you know what, by the end of the day, you just open up the freezer, grab that bottle of ice, the tub of ice cream, and just sit down because you can't take it anymore. I'm just going to sit down and engorge on ice cream. I can't make another decision. Mark Zuckerberg, Einstein, Steve Jobs, for example, right? You've seen these pictures of Steve Jobs wearing his black turtleneck and his blue jeans and sneakers. There doesn't exist another picture of him because this is what he wore every single day. Barack Obama as well talked with Fast Company and about his decision making, right? And he says, you'll see I only wear gray or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or what I'm wearing because I have too many other decisions to make, right? There are things that matter in your world and things that don't matter. And for Obama, right, wearing a gray or blue suit, see what happened the one time. There was one time that he decided to wear a tan suit and it was international outrage, right? He strayed from his path. So paring down, think about the decisions that you can pare down. For me, if you've ever seen any of my webinars or talks to see me interpret, I'm wearing a blue shirt, a blue tie, and a blue suit, right? I know when I put this on, this is my uniform. I don't have to think about it. I didn't spend the 30 minutes before I got on this microphone trying to find a tie that matched, right, the shirt. No, it's the blue on blue. I don't have to think about it. I spent the last 10 minutes, literally, I was talking to my group about this, making some little subtle changes to my presentation because that matters more. right? So I'm not exhausted by mentally thinking about my wardrobe. I can actually sit down and focus on what actually matters. So think about your life, your day-to-day routines. What decisions can you pare down? Are there tasks in your business that you can automate? Are things that require you to manually enter things, or can you automate certain things? Can you automate reminders? We've got Siri, we've got Google, we've got who knows what else, other assistants. Are there things that you can do within your day-to-day that you can hand off to one of these virtual assistants? Do you have a secretary? Do you have a marketing team? What do you have in your world, and who can you tap? What resources can you tap to automate or to delegate these little minor things so you can focus more on the business of you, so you can be paying attention to those opportunities when they arise, and you can see those threats when they're out there and not miss them because you were looking inside your closet trying to find a tie that matched your checkered shirt, right? Another process, system, and habit that I like to talk about is Mison Plus. My French interpreters and translators will hopefully understand this, and anybody who's done any cooking will know about Mison Plus. This comes from the French culinary tradition. It literally means everything in its place, right? When you're trying to prepare that fantastic meal, you want to have all your ingredients out, measured, ready. You want to have your knife sharpened and right there on the right-hand side. You want to know where your cutting board is. It's a matter of not trying to turn the stove on and then, oh, I got to get the butter. Oh, where's the butter? Oh, it's in the fridge. I got to get the fridge, turn it on, put the butter on. I got to get the eggs. Okay, I got the eggs. Oh, the bowl, I got to wash the bowl first. In the meantime, the butter's burning because you're washing the bowl to get the eggs. It turns into a disaster just trying to make an omelet. But rather having everything in its place, it becomes effortless just to reach for that salt, reach for that pepper, reach for that spice, reach for your knife, cut, slide, push, cook, saute, and serve. It's there. So what are the things that you have in your business, the things that are vital to running the business of you? Where do you keep them? And that's terminology. Do you have terminology in a glossary that's on your desktop, and then others that are in a handwritten notebook, and others terms that are in a note card? That's not going to help you if you need to come up with that term right now. When I'm doing my virtual presentations, when I'm interpreting, I've got my 2 screens set up. I've got my microphone right here in front of me. I've got my camera always set in the same spot. I know where my keyboard is slightly to the right. My pens are to the left. My pens are to the right. I can effortlessly reach down, grab a pen. I can push the button that turn my camera on and off, right? Seamless, because everything is in its place and allows me then to focus on the important part, right? Not trying to scramble and look around for the mouse, not looking around for the microphone button. It's all right here so I can focus on talking to you. So where are the things, either the physical things in your business or the opposite, I guess, would be non-physical things, right? Where are those relationships, right? Do you have that relation? Do you have that person you need to talk to on speed dial? If you run into a bind and you need help with a particular term, do you have that colleague on speed dial? Do you have, if you need somebody to cover for you, do you have that colleague ready to go? If you need to contact the hospital, the clerk, or Lola, if something comes up, how are you going to get in touch with them, right? Is that information right there near you? Or do you have to go get in your car, drive to your office because it's in that notebook that's in the bottom shelf, right? Where are the things that you need to keep vital to your business? Do they have a place for them? And are they easily accessible? So Mison Plus, right? That's the second system or habit that you can think about when improving the business of you. Now, we talk about maintaining, right? How do you stay up to date? Just to maintain, you're already high performers. I already know this. You're here on a Saturday learning about interpreting and translating, right? And networking opportunities. You're not off doing anything else you could be doing on a Saturday. You're here. This already proves that you guys are high performers, right? Your care. How do you stay up to date? Well, obviously you're here, right? I love this quote by this man. It says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." This is Abraham Lincoln, 16th president, deceased, right? You know this year's coming up, right? Rather than just jumping into work, can you maintain the axe? Can you spend some time working on the act so the work is easier for you? So think, how do you stay ahead of the curve, right? Of everybody else? First, keeping up with your interpreting skills and translating skills. They're perishable. Keeping up with the terminology, keeping up with world events, what's going on in the world. On top of that, what about the trends in the profession? What's going on in the interpreting and translating community? Are there changes being made to policies and procedures? Are there new best practices emerging? Is somebody else taking the reins and changing how you need to work or have to work, right? Technology, everything from, being thrust into this virtual world, right? Where we have to learn Zoom, we have to make sure we've got cameras and good lighting and other terminology, the phones, but there's also the business technology that we have to keep up with. Not just to be able to do the work that we do, but to be able to engage and participate in these conferences, in the dialogues with our clients and customers, right? What about the business practices? Are there new practices in business that are going to change the way you work? Are you still submitting invoices by writing something out with a pen and signing your name and sticking it in an envelope and putting a stamp on it and going down to the post office? Or are you downloading an Adobe form and have your signature and emailing things, right? Are there new ways of invoicing? Are clients expecting electronic invoicing, just for example, or are they expecting, a hard copy in triplicate on carbon paper? Right? Business practices change. How are you staying up with what your clients expect on the business side? And how do you stay ahead, right, of the curve? This is just to maintain, right? Just to maintain where you are. But how do you stay ahead of what's going on? We'll see. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work and be ready for all of life's curveballs. Hopefully this will, right?
The pitch, swing and a miss, and he went down to his knees swinging at that pitch. The changeup had him so fooled and off balance, he swung and missed and wound up on his knees. Goodness.
Professional baseball player at the top of his game, falling to his knees in the middle of a game, right? He had a plan. But like this actor, dancer, and former athlete, Mike Tyson likes to say, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And a lot of us got punched in the mouth over the last couple of years with this pandemic. We get punched in the mouth when we have these new laws coming in that will affect your ability to work. When new AI comes in and your client says, oh, it's better than the work you can do. We found a better translator. We found a better interpreter. We found somebody cheaper, right? All these different curveballs, these that you get, that life throws at you, right? These are just punches in the mouth. And so you've got this plan. How do you stay ahead? How do you adapt? So again, I said I was going to give you a lot of questions, but I kind of narrowed down to just a few things to keep in mind, right? Have your systems in place. Whatever the system that you have, that you need to do your job, to do it just as good as everyone else, better than everyone else, right? Have your systems in place, right? Make sure that you're better than the alternative. Right? So I'm going to use translation. And I've given this example before in other talks, right? Machine translation is getting better and better, right? And it is going to replace those translators who can only produce something as good as a machine can, right? There are a lot of low quality translators out there, and they will be replaced by machines who can also produce a shoddy translation. The clients can say, hey, I'm getting a shoddy translation for free on Google, and I'm getting a shoddy translation that cost me $1,000 from you. I'm going to go with the free one, right? Make sure that you're better than the alternative, than what's out there. Know what differentiates you, right? The business of you. What makes you a better interpreter, better translator, better colleague, a better performer than everybody else? Constantly work on your skills. Don't rest on your laurels. Yes, I got this great assignment. Yes, I passed this exam. Yes, I got this wonderful comment from the person I interpreted for yesterday, said it was fantastic. That's great, but that has nothing to do with how you're going to do tomorrow. Understand and anticipate your clients' needs. Don't get blindsided when your client says, oh, well, we're offering that, we wanted to do this. I'm like, well, I do that too. Oh, you never told us. We didn't have a conversation. So we went with this other person who said that they could do that. And we didn't know you could do that, right? Be the solution, not the problem. Again, the example I'm going to give with this virtual technology, doing remote interpretation, right? A lot of interpreters struggled with Zoom and struggled with setting up their systems, whether it's WebEx or Microsoft Teams. And then others were able to shine and become the resource. So, for example, in the courts, the clerk would say, oh, I'm having a hard time. The interpreter would say, hey, that's okay. I got this. All you do is click XYZ, move this over here, and then we can see each other. Like, oh, wow. Now you've just been a solution. Versus the interpreter gets on. It's like, Madam Clerk, I don't know how to turn my microphone on. Can you help me? What's going on? If the interpreter can't work the equipment, they're not going to call that interpreter next time. But the interpreter that can provide the solutions for the client's problems is going to be the one they remember. So understand how to work with the current technology, whatever it is. Be proactive in reaching out, again, to your clients, to your colleagues, find out what's going on, and be a phenomenal colleague, right? I talk about staying ahead of the curve. There are ways of being a top performer that are damaging and toxic and unhealthy, right? There are ways to land that contract, to do that job that really isn't going to make you a top performer. Yes, you may sacrifice everything, friendships, family to pass this exam or to get this contract, but you'll be left alone and nobody will call you. And when that job ends, you'll be a pariah. So there are ways of, I know interpreters who technically can be very good, but they're very difficult to work with. And so guess what? They're not on my list to call when I need somebody. So being the phenomenal colleague, somebody who is the whole package, who understands teamwork and networking and sharing, these are the people that, in my mind, are the top performers, the truly exceptional colleagues who I will reach out to without a hesitation in my mind, who I know will take care of the client and do things at the level that my clients expect. Again, join professional associations and be active in them, right? Have a voice at the table, at least know what's going on at the table. Even if you don't have a voice there, at least you know what's going on in the interpreting and translating worlds, right? Be involved, know what changes are coming, know what procedures and policies are being put into place or possibly changing that could affect how you work, right? And then attend as many professional training opportunities as you can. Really invest in yourself. I can't stress that enough. And I'm speaking to the choir because you guys, again, are here on a Saturday when you could be doing 1,000 things, because I know you've got a long list of things to take care of before Christmas, right? And before the new year, but yet you guys are here. So you're already on that far end of the curve. And be flexible, be adaptable, and constantly add to your skill set so you can stay ahead of the curves in the road. And it's really not going to matter, because if you're truly adaptable, if you truly are where you're going to need to be, where you're going, you don't even need roads, as Doc Brown said in Back to the Future, right? You're not going to be here, right? You'll be here. And this is somebody who's adapted and realizes that I don't care about the curves in the road because I can deal with it. Friends, that's the end of the conversation, the beginning now of the conversation, the end of the monologue. I want to thank you guys for your attention and your time. And if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm happy now to answer any questions that you may have.
Great. Thank you so much, Javier. That was an excellent talk. And again, the chat keeps blowing up with people saying how amazing it is. We had a couple really great messages. Great presentation from Riham. So if we have a question, put it in the chat. Otherwise, we will move on to our next speaker to stay on time. I saw Helen had her hand up.
Yeah, maybe we can have one or two quick questions. And I saw Helen had the hand.
Yeah. So Helen, I'm going to spotlight you and ask to unmute.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that there was going to be time for questions. I was just going to say thank you, Javier, very much. I enjoyed a presentation I heard of yours before, and this one just as much. I have remembered since I heard your presentation on the background that you should have when you're on screen. I've never forgotten it. Books make you look bright and intelligent, and I've used it so many times with other people. Just wanted to thank you very much for that. And if you're going to drink anything, make sure it's out of a nice porcelain cup. You see, I remember it. Not slogging back a mug as I just did myself. Doesn't look good. Thank you. Very nice indeed. I liked your presentation. Just want to pick up a couple of things that you said that I really would like to support. Absolutely. Be a good colleague. It's so important. If you can get on with your colleagues, those colleagues will have other contacts and they will bring you into the team next time if you prove to be good, meaning you help, you're on time, you do the job as well as you can. Unfortunately, perfection, sorry, Javier, is not of this world in this profession. Yeah. We are going to make mistakes, okay? We are going to get it wrong. We're going to find ourselves occasionally struggling. That is the nature of interpreting, especially when it's simultaneous. You just don't have the time. But learn how to get out of the situation if it's a difficult one, and be a good colleague to somebody you can help out. Those are two things I would definitely underline, because there never will be perfection. And keep training, keep training, keep training. Yeah, that's terribly important as well. We think we're great today, as you rightly point out, and tomorrow something completely different comes along, different set of challenges. The more training you have, the better you'll be able to cope with them. And thanks again, Javier. And I haven't forgotten those books. I still don't have books behind me, and I really should.
Thank you, Helen.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Helen, for the question. A bunch of the chat is just saying great presentation, wonderful presentation, raised good points. Love how comprehensive it was. So I don't know that there's any questions in the chat. I think you were pretty comprehensive and took care of everything. So if you have any final questions for Javier, put them in the chat. Otherwise, we will move on to our next speaker.